So what I'm talking about is that black ring around the bottom. It could just be cosmetic. It could be glued. That's not something I really need to be yanking on without knowing for sure whether it just slides down or if it threads off. If it threads off, there's a lot of things I can do here. You see that gap around it? That's a good indication that it's not tight to start with, and it should be pretty snug, because that, as this moves up and down, that's keeping pressure against the mirror on the shaft, and it'll reduce a little bit of wobble. You don't even need like a 1/10 of a degree with this kind of thing. So that's an improvement that I need to research and find out before I move forward with it. But you see, like, that's your focuser at the bottom. And the very nature of this is weak, because it's not pushing to the center. It's pushing against one side of the mirror. So unless everything is mechanically like tolerant to like a very small fraction of a degree, then there's going to be some degree of tilt that happens. And having that collar tight is going to eliminate a lot of that focus shift, that mirror tilt. So I need to find out that before I move any further. This on an ETX, it has spanner wrench keyholes. This one does not. So I'm just scared that it's not actually a threaded collar, that it's probably just glued on there or something. They did everything else so chintzy, it's kind of hard to say, you know, for sure. But yeah, aviation grease is going in there. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. The last evidence of what this is this fucking thing. So rather than buy a new something, I'm just going to probably fill in this and polish it so that it's flat. And then like, you know what, I might even cut this out actually and put some Mylar in that motherfucker, so I have a solar filter. That's probably the way I'll go with that. That would be cool. Just get a Dremel tool and cut this piece of shit fucking C out of here. And then, you know, be kind of uncomfortable, so I'll just throw it in the trash. So like, this lip is where the metal tube sets around this, where it's bolted in. There's a ton of room around here for like a dew strip band. You know, how cool would that be? And just put like some vents on the sides, like here and here or something. I mean, how cool would that be? I'm really seriously considering like modding that out. So this is your focuser. There's 2 bearings with a spacer. Sets in here like this. And the problem is this movement right here. Now, if you look at the back side of this, you would think that this notch would be the size of those bearings, to where it's seated better than it does. And there's a little bit of slop there. So look at the primary mirror housing. If you notice, okay, that's where the focuser seats. People talk about marking the primary so that you know how to return it to the telescope properly in the right orientation. How stupid, because it can only go one way, as you can see. Like, it's completely fucking, like, it's impossible to put it wrong. But anyway, so yeah, more cloudy nights bullshit talk. Anyway, these holes, if I cut that and then put some threaded rod in there with like a little bushing on it, then you could focus the mirror so it slides up and down to the focus position, and then you should be able to lock it by running those 2 threaded rods up. So I might do that. And there's space in here, like, look where the mirror's inset. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here it is with a one coat of clear on it. Ooh, sexy. Oh yeah, that's like freaking gunmetal color, man, or something. I don't know. That shit's sweet. So the key is take this off and separate these bearings and put another spacer in here. And the reason I would want to do that, I'll show you why. Okay, say I've got an extra spacer in here. So if I hold pressure against this, when I lock it down, when I tighten it up, it should hold tight against that front bearing. And if you've got sufficient grease in there, then the idea behind having the 2 is that the rotation, see, it still turns, but it won't have any of this shit going on. So, yeah, I got to get to Lowe's or somewhere and find this washer right here. And I'll use brass most likely. Copper or brass, one or the other. But yeah, I mean, it's like they've been making this same part for years, and I don't know. I'm just it's beyond me.
Not all that talk about screwing up future events, the space-time continuum.
Well, I figured, what the hell?
Okay, so here it is installed with this plate pushing against the bearing, the front bearing, like it's supposed to be. And as you can see, I can't move that at all in any direction. And it totally free spins with no grease. I'm gonna put grease in it obviously, but you see how much more effective that is at reducing mirror tilt. That's the way this was supposed to be designed. And apparently they just don't give a fuck no more. Like, because when they mass produce these molds and stuff, like, there is an actual tolerance that exists here. And it wears over time, yes, but I don't personally feel like you've had it long enough that you've done that. Like, you're talking like 20 plus years. I just feel like they just throw the shit together and they don't test anything, because quality control should have been able to see that, like, the way it was, there was, you know, it was a weak design. There needs to be more pressure against this plate. So this, not only it acts to keep retain the focuser from the actual stem coming through the back of the telescope, it's also a friction plate where you make small adjustments in order to get the right amount of tension on this shaft so that the whole thing doesn't fucking wobble around. But what the fuck do I know? Seriously, man, like, What the fuck kind of grease is this? This is what they use on a focuser. And this is spray foam. It's flexible. It's got like some, like, what in the hell? So there's that monstrosity. And like, I get this, like this totally makes sense, like how this is, the mirror, the corrector is held in place, but fucking cardboard? Like, really? They have absolutely no pride in anything they build anymore. They just want to build as many as they can and as fast as they can. But okay, so basically this bearing, it'll free spin from the center point there, and it sits in here like this. And what should be happening is that the threaded part on the travel is pulling tension against that way, like that. But what happens is it gets loose and it starts, instead of riding against that plate, it's doing this number like this. So as the scope actually turns in axis under the weight of the mirror, is forcing the focuser, which in turn is the whole mirror itself is tilting just slightly, ever so slightly. That's why guys like Damien Peach, they collimate to each particular part of the sky, because an SCT has got, to some degree, a little bit of movement in the primary mirror. So, shopping list: brake clean, wheel bearing grease, white lithium grease for the focuser, and a little bit of hardware stuff, and that piece of cork. I'm gonna cut out the spacers with that, and I am going to replace that foam with something that's a little bit more suitable for a fine optical instrument, and lots of paint stripper and some metallic paint. That's some pretty shoddy work they're doing. They're getting, if you look at the components of a classic C8 compared to today, like the way they're doing stuff, man, it's pretty sad, really. I mean, that's probably across the board. Like, unless, like, companies like Lunt or Takahashi or whatever, they're probably the only ones that aren't like mass producing shit. The companies that are actually building their stuff, that have pride in it, it's awesome. But yeah, it's just what it is today. I'm obviously having a lot of fun with this. Never have broken down an SCT before, but it's been a really cool learning experience. So,
What about all that talk about screwing up future events, the space-time continuum?
Well, I figured, what the hell?